Welcome to my channel, guys. My name is Tolu. I'm a Christian dating coach and I specialize in helping Christian single women meet their husbands. Now, before we get into this live, I wanted to share with you about the Dating to Marry program. This is my one-on-one Christian dating program that helps single Christian women over 30 get into a committed relationship leading to marriage in 12 months. And if you want to apply to work with me, just click the link in my bio and first tab to apply. This program is best suited for women over 30 that are single and are Christian and are ready to get into a relationship that leads to marriage within a year. Now, the Dating to Marry program is my proven process whereby I've helped my clients to meet their husbands and to be able to get married within a 12-month time frame. If you want to work with me, the link is my bio to apply. Okay, so let's get started. And if you're watching this live on Instagram, the link is also visible on the pinned tab if you're watching this live. So let's get started. I want to talk to you guys about your fear of never getting married as an over 30 single Christian woman that has been waiting for marriage, believing God that this man is going to show up in your life, trusting the Lord that you're going to step into marriage, but now it feels like it's just never going to happen because you haven't met any men that you want to marry and your relationships just never work out. Okay, it turns out like the men that you date just never match what you were expecting before you started dating them. If you have any questions for me, drop it in the question box. So I'm going to give you guys some very hard truths, okay? You guys know I'm very direct as it is anyway, but I'm going to be very direct, even more so today. The reason this isn't happening is not because God didn't call you to marriage, it's because you're not taking dating seriously. You have to really understand your path is very different to everyone else's. Your path to marriage, your path to professional and financial comfort, your path to any area in your life that you have goals, your approach is going to be different. So you really have to stop fighting the reality that you are currently in, which is you need to actually make dating a priority. It is not happening for you the way maybe for your friend, it just happened, maybe they met in school, maybe they met through a friend. That is not happening for you, okay? So face that fact and stop living in delusion because it's not working. A lot of you have approached dating from a delusional standpoint, and that is actually the problem. The problem isn't your location, it's not your age. The problem isn't that you're not meeting the problem isn't that there aren't early eligible men, it's that you are dating with delusion. You somehow expect this man to come and walk into your life, have all the perfect qualities, tick all the boxes, and then you get married. That's not how this works. You have to start making dating a part of your routine. Stop living in delusion. That's the first thing I will say. Dating has to become a part of your routine. When you're making dating a priority, I want to be clear. I'm not talking about making dating intangible. I'm not talking about making dating overbearing, because a lot of you assume that dating is just stressful, frustrating, especially when you're in your 30s and you've gone through the whole process of discovering yourself in your 20s. You've met all sorts of men. You may have gone through a relationship or even been in a marriage that didn't work out. Because you've been through those experiences, you assume that the men you're going to meet match your exes, not understanding that those are the men that you met based on who you were. You need to use that information to approach dating differently to meet a different kind of guy, okay? Now, if you don't do that, you will attract the same men. Like I've said, I'm just going to be very straightforward with you guys. So if you're still meeting men like your exes, you're still meeting men like, your ex-husband, it is because you're still dating the way you did before that relationship ended, while you were married to that person. So your identity has to shift for you to attract a different kind of man. And I was explaining this to a client. To attract the right kind of man, you need to become a right kind of woman. And inside Dating to Marry program, I show you how to do this. We're not trying to get you, or rather, I'm not trying to get you to be a woman that you are not. If anything, I'm trying to get you to become the woman that you are, so that it's easy to be found by the man that you are called to marriage with, okay? Now, I was explaining to a client that, in order to make a certain meal, maybe you want to make cake, you need to know the ingredients. You don't just wake up one morning and say, I believe I'm going to see cake in front of me. I believe. It doesn't matter whether you are speaking in tongues, kabashing for hours. You need to get up, get a list of the ingredients on Google, or I don't know, a family recipe, go to the grocery store, get those ingredients, follow the instructions, and then you get the cake. But the way a lot of you are dating is you are sitting down, kabashing, and by kabashing, for those that don't understand, for whatever reason, basically you are praying fervently, but you're refusing to actually participate. For prayer to come to pass, you have to participate. A lot of you are not participating in your dating process. And, this is because, unfortunately, it's not really taught in the Christian faith. I remember when I first started Fan the Flame, it was because there were a lack of resources around Christian dating. There are hardly any. I mean, now it's more common than it was when I started the Fan the Flame Instagram page. But there aren't really that many resources around Christian dating. But the truth is, you do need to participate in your dating process to be able to meet your husband. You need to participate. But because you're not participating, you are living in fear. And your fear is the reason why you're not meeting men. And it's not because it's not your time. It's not because there are no men where you are. It's just because you're afraid. You're not doing anything. Fear paralyzes. The job of fear is to paralyze. That's all fear is done. It's there for. That's why when you see people, sometimes when they're afraid, they can't move. Fear causes paralysis, right? So your fear around marriage is paralyzing your dating process. It is not a curse. It is not because it's not your time. I keep singing it because I want you to understand those are just excuses that you are using to ignore the fact that you're just afraid. It's important that when you are dating, especially when you are going through the dating process as a 30-plus woman that has garnered a certain level of self-awareness, experience, exposure, you've garnered some level of financial, professional comfort, like I've said before, you have enough information to be able to make decisions to participate in your dating process. Okay? You can participate. A lot of you are not doing it. That's why you are not meeting any men. And here's the thing. You can't just wake up married. Nobody wakes up married, right? Even those that black out in Las Vegas, they didn't just wake up married. When I say blackout, for those that get the reference, they just randomly go to one of those churches and not churches. They go to one of those ministers, roadside ministers, get married because they had some night of fun, can't remember anything. They still had to go to the altars of some sort and make proclamations to one another to get married. Marriage takes steps. You literally need to take one step at a time, but right now you're not taking any steps. So that means you're not making marriage possible for yourself, right? Okay, like I said, I'm going to be very direct because a lot of you are just standing in your way. You're standing in your way, and until you start participating, and what participation looks like, I'll run you guys through a couple of steps. What participation looks like is being involved, is taking action. All this thinking is not getting you anywhere. Thinking, oh, I wish I was married. Oh, I wish it was easy for me. Oh, why did my friend got married so quickly? Oh, it's another birthday. All that thinking is not doing you any good. It's not producing anything. You're just sitting down and thinking. Thinking requires action. You need to participate to be able to experience the marriage that you desire. Thinking about your professional accomplishments, you had to take certain decisions. You had to participate, whether it was sitting an exam, going to an interview, putting yourself forward for a promotion or a project. You were required to participate to get to the level that you currently are professionally. Same way with dating, you need to participate. So when I talk about making dating a priority, I just mean making it a part of your routine. That is how you participate, creating opportunities to meet men organically and online, because that's the only two ways that man is going to come into your life. That's the only two routes people come into your life. It's either you meet them organically or you meet them through online spaces. So you need to create a schedule around how you show up organically and how you show up online. And the thing I do with my clients inside the Dating to Marry program is to help them create that schedule. I literally walk my clients through a process of making dating a part of their routine. That is why my clients meet men organically. They don't need to dress up, choose some social location. They literally meet men on flights, supermarket, grocery store, train stations, through friends. That is, and even online, they meet their husbands through online dating apps using my proven process, and so on and so forth. Why? Because if you're not visible, you cannot be found. It's that simple. It's like when you lose a key, right? You can't, if it's the key to the car, you need to find that key to start the car. So that means you start looking. Why? Because you need to be able to find the key to start the car. In other words, what I'm trying to say is, you want to be easy. You want to make it simple for you to be found. You don't want to be like a key that is lost, that nobody knows where it is or how to get there, or somebody needs some very random set of directions. You don't want to make it improbable. You don't want to make it difficult. You want to make it simple for your husband to find you. This is why you need to create opportunities to be found by having by showing up organically and online. And in the Dating to Marry program, I walk my clients through a very specific process whereby they are creating opportunities to meet men organically and creating opportunities to meet men online. Meeting men is not difficult. Problem is, you're just not creating opportunities for this to happen. And when I walk my clients through this process, they meet men consistently. Because you're not interested in meeting the men, you're interested in meeting your husband. But meeting men is the first part of that equation that will lead to marriage. You cannot get married without meeting men, because your husband is a man. That's just logic. So you need to create opportunities to meet men so that you can meet your husband and then get married, right? But because you're not creating opportunities to meet men, that's why you haven't seen marriage. Okay? I want to make this very simple and straightforward. You need to create opportunities to meet men to be able to get married. So unless you want to keep repeating the same routine, you better start making opportunities to meet men. This is why, when clients come into the Dating to Marry program, I literally give them a dating schedule. A dating schedule, it simply just means a simple roster of how they intend to meet men. And what's interesting, what I've seen with clients that's interesting is when we come up with a schedule, and my schedule is very simple. It's nothing complicated, overbearing, uncomfortable for clients. It's just literally finding opportunities within their normal routine and optimizing it so that they can make themselves visible to be found. What's so interesting is when my clients come up with that schedule, maybe we decide that they want to focus organically or they want to focus online. Either way, they start meeting men in completely different places as well. So they may have decided, okay, I want to go through the online dating process. I have very specific steps for helping my clients, the right platforms, the right way they position their profiles and so on. Very specific steps for that. And they discover that they start meeting men offline as well. In other words, organically. Or maybe they decide they want to meet men strictly organically, and we come up with a roster that makes it simple for them to optimize the places that they're showing up naturally. They start meeting men at the most random places that wasn't even on the roster, maybe just walking down the street. Why? Because they have now created opportunities to be visible. So let me explain this with another angle, using the key. If I put a key on a table, I'm not the only one that can see it. It's my key, but everybody else in that room can see the key if they look at the table. That's the whole point. You are like the key. You want to make sure that men can see you, so that including your husband. So even when you are not just focused on making yourself visible, which is what is happening with my clients, even when they're just thinking about, I just want to create opportunities in these areas, they're also visible to other men as well, which is why they naturally start attracting men in other places. It happens so often. It's very interesting. But the reason I share this is to let you know your visibility is part of how you participate in making your marriage inevitable. Okay? Now, secondly, let me know if this is helpful. Tap the hearts. If this is helpful to you, just tap the hearts. If you have any questions for me, drop it in the question box. But yeah. The second thing is, as a Christian woman that is desiring of marriage, you need to be practical. It's not just about being prayerful. let me explain something. Part of the problem is you're over spiritualizing the dating process. And I want to break this down, okay? I really want you guys to get this. You're over spiritualizing the dating process. You know, on Fan the Flame, and if you work with me personally, we do not play with prayer. Do not play with prayer at all. I share prayers on this page. You know, clients in my program have very specific sets of prayers that I help them to be able to receive revelation around their marriages, around their dating. You know, I don't even open sessions without prayer in dating to marry. It is not possible. I partner with the Holy Spirit, and prayer is an important part of that process. But you are also required to be practical, right? A lot of you have over spiritualized dating. You've done all the fasts. You've done all the prayers. You can go weeks, fasting. Can pray for a whole day, which is all well and good. But what is the other part of that equation? How are you taking tangible steps to be able to make that prayer, to be able to make that prayer manifest in a way that you can experience it? Okay. So apart from prayer, of course, builds your relationship with the Lord, how are you building evidence? Through participating by showing up practically to make those prayers show up in your life. And it's not possible that you tell me that you pray and God did not give you steps you should take in your life, like in reality, to actualize those prayers. Prayer requires you to partner. Okay? You are required to partner. Right? What I mean by this is part of your testimony. You know, when you're giving, think about any testimony you have. Just think about anyone. I am sure that you did not just sit down and it just fell on your lap. There were things you tried. There were things you did. There were people you reached out to. There were, doors that were shut in your face. You kept showing up and you kept praying. It was two things. This is what I mean by prayer and practicality. That's what partnership looks like. Part of your testimony is what you are doing. What is the practical part of you producing this fruit you are trying to see? For example, using even a fruit. You don't just go to the garden and say, I'm believing God for an apple tree. I'm believing God for an apple tree. If you like, say that statement as many times as you want. You are not going to see that apple tree unless you participate. Get the seed of an apple tree. Get the seed of an apple. Plant it. Water it. That is how you participate. And then you see the apple tree, right? You receive direction because you are praying. You receive direction on how to plant it. You receive direction on, how to water it. You receive direction on when to pluck the fruit. That is how prayer shows up in your practical routine. But a lot of you are not practical about dating. You are just praying. That's all you are doing. Just praying. You're still not creating opportunities to meet men. You're not allowing the Holy Spirit to direct how you're having conversations with men. You are not listening to what he's saying. You are not, you're not creating opportunities to be able to step out in faith. Whether it's talking to men, going on dates, I don't know, initiating conversations with men. You're not doing any of it. You're just praying. It won't work. I'm just, guys, I've been going through applications and I'm just seeing a lot of things. It won't work. You are required to participate. Okay? There is a practical part of your testimony. There's a practical part of your testimony. Right? This is how you partner with the Lord. Okay? And, this is why when I'm working with clients one-on-one, like I said, we don't joke with prayer. I have what I call prayer for your future husband template. So it's a guide that shows my clients how to pray for their husbands, even when they are not, even if they're not dating anybody right now, they're not talking to anyone, that prayer for your future husband makes them visible spiritually, and it gives them revelation, and it deepens their relationship with the Lord. I even shared a post yesterday, was how one of my clients got confirmation that she was going to get married because she was being attacked spiritually from the place of disbelief that it can't happen. She's over 30, she's tired, she's attracting men that are not good for her. But when she got that prayer template, she understood how to communicate with the Holy Spirit. But then she still showed up. She met her husband. She got married shortly after that. That is how, so she was practical with, and she was praying, right? So you can't just be over spiritualizing things. You can't say you're sitting down and everybody is against you. Your enemies are working against you. That's why you're not married. No, it's because you're sitting down. That's just the truth. You're not doing anything, right? You need to partner to be able to see the fruit of what you're praying for, however that may look like. So with one client, it may just be the fact that she needs to open up to talking to more men. With another client, it may be she needs to leave a situationship. But with both clients, they see the fruit of that decision because they partnered, right? So that's another reason why fear is taking root and why you believe you won't get married. And let me tell you, like the clients that I work with, they were all in their 30s. The ones that are now married, they're all in their 30s, in their 40s. They got married. So it's very possible it can happen for you too. They got married, but they needed to take different decisions, part of which was going through the Dating to Marry program, really looking at how they have been, why the evidence they're experiencing before joining the program, which is the evidence of not attracting good men, being tired of the men that they're attracting, not meeting men that they can't even go on dates with. They needed to do a self-investigation through the Dating to Marry process when they decided to work with me. Yes, I have clients. Thank you for that. Yes, I have a client. In fact, a client comes to mind. She was in her 50s and she wasn't just meeting enough men. Now, part of her problem was she wasn't exposed to dating, didn't have enough dating experience. Within a month of us working together, men were showing up helping her to do different things. She was traveling, men showed up to help her with her luggage, men, her destination, it was her hometown, but, a guide came up, showed up, a professional colleague was asking her, if she needed any help with exploring the area. So yes, women in their 50s as well. I just gave 30s, 40s as an example, but of course in your 50s as well. Yes, I've seen that with clients, absolutely. The point is, you need to be practical with your dating process. You can't just over-spiritualize everything. It is not helpful. It is not working, okay? You need to there's a place for prayer and there's a place to act. Faith without deeds is dead. James 2:26, one of my favorite scriptures. You need to act. As you are moving, God is communicating with you. The word says a righteous man stumbles or falls, whichever, 7 times and still rises up. In other words, for them to fall, they need to have been moving. It is not supposed to be a perfect experience. It is part of the process of learning about your marriage, of getting closer to God. Dating to Marry is a 6-month program. It's a 6-month program. We work together for 6 months, and in those 6 months, I show you exactly how to be able to start getting into a relationship that will lead to marriage. You're going to start going on dates. You'll be meeting men within the container of that 6 months. You're going to be meeting men, going on dates. You're going to be evaluating the men evaluating and cleaning up the men that are showing up in your life. And then eventually you'll be in a position to choose the man you want to commit to, because I strongly believe you get to choose your husband. I don't have a single client that, even taking the example of a client that is just about to get married, she was meeting multiple quality men. It was just about choosing the man she wanted to commit to, and she chose, and now she's getting married to him. So I don't believe that you have options. Problem is, y'all are not participating, and you're not making yourself visible to be found, which is why you believe you don't have options. Okay? Moving on. Let's look at the third point. If you have any questions for me, feel free to drop it. I'm glad to answer. You're not creating opportunities to build friendships with men. You're not creating opportunities to build friendships with men. That's another problem. Yes, I work with women of all races. I'm just seeing the questions. Do I help Asian Christians? Absolutely. Christians are Christians. We're not divided by racial or cultural boundaries. So Christians are Christians. I help every Christian woman, no problem with regards to your race. But the third point is you're not creating opportunities to build friendships with men. Okay? If I asked you, how many male friends do you have? Do you have any male friends? Do you have any male interactions that you will consider to be, close, personal, and that you will consider to be in a position to be able to help you understand dating from a male perspective? A lot of you won't be able to answer that confidently. I won't answer questions based on my personal life, so feel free to ask anything else because it's a very public platform. So no, I won't be answering that question. But yeah, you're not creating opportunities to create men showing up in your life. Okay, when I say create men showing up in your life, the more you create opportunities to build friendships with men, inevitably, the more you're creating opportunities to meet your husband. Why? Because as you're building friendships with men, you're also creating opportunities for your husband to show up in your life. Why? Because he's a man. Guys, you see how simple this is? Because a lot of you are making it so complicated. Dating is so simple. The more you create, it's kind of like if you have tailored your CV to apply for a tech role. Applying that CV will apply for not just one tech company, it will apply for multiple tech companies. Why? Because that CV is tailored for tech roles. So using that analogy, if you're creating opportunities to build friendships with men, you're creating opportunities to be found by your husband. But because y'all are so, I don't know where this came from, but I'm suspecting it's just how the culture has developed in the Christian faith. There's this belief that your husband is just going to show up in your life, ready to marry you, and, is going to lead straight to marriage. He's going to show up with the intention of marriage and blah, blah, blah. That's not how this thing happens, okay? If it was, a lot of you would have been in relationships leading to marriage by now. It doesn't work like that. You need to create opportunities to get to know the person. That is how you build relationships with people. Think about any of your friends. Think about any of your... Just think about anybody that has professional colleagues that have become friends. There was an opportunity for a relationship to develop. So part of the issue is you're not creating opportunities to build friendships with men. You don't have solid male examples in your life. Okay? You don't have solid male examples. You don't know how to nurture friendships with men. And it's translating in the way you connect with men. That's why you struggle to flirt. That's why you find it difficult to read a man's intentions. That's why you are constantly in a process of, looking at men through the sole lens of intimate relationships. You are not looking at them from the perspective of, just want to get to know him, he's a friend. The problem with that is it's going to repel men from you. Why? Because you're going to start objectifying them based on, is this my husband or is this not my husband? That is not it doesn't end well. You need to be able to talk to men organically, build friendships with men, get to know them, they get to know you. That kind of process needs to be in place for you to be able to create opportunities to meet your husband. Okay? So part of the reason why you're afraid you'll never get married is you just don't have enough male representations in your life of healthy friendships with men. And you need more of that. I'm not saying now go and make every man your friend. I'm just saying create opportunities to be friendly with men, because that is literally another avenue that you could meet your husband. Okay? Now, how I help my clients with this is we literally go through what I call the positioning triangle. Positioning triangle is basically how I help my clients evaluate how they are positioning themselves. In other words, how men are perceiving them and how many men are pursuing them. That's all. You can tell how a man perceives you by how he pursues you. If no men are pursuing you, your problem is you're not visible. If the men that are pursuing you are not the kind of men you want, your problem is your value. You're not leading with your value. If you're meeting men that are pursuing you and based on how you want to be perceived, in other words, they want to take you on dates, proper dates, not fast food restaurants, not let's hang out at my house. That's not a date. proper dates. They're taking you for experiences, because that's what a date is. Nice, restaurants, maybe some sort of activity they know you like. Properly going out of their way to take you on dates. That means that you're leading with your value. It's really that simple. So what I do with clients inside Dating to Marry is to show them how to lead with their values, so that their positioning will make their positioning is in alignment with the kind of man they want to marry. Because the more you lead with your value, the more visible you will be to your husband. That's simple. So the Dating to Marry process walks you through how to lead with your value, so that you can build visibility and inevitably attract your spouse. That is how I get my clients from being in situationships, not seeing any men, to literally in front of their husbands, getting into relationships and getting married. That's the Dating to Marry process. So you need to create opportunities for men to come into your life, right? And then moving on, let me know if you guys have any questions. Drop it in the question box. Tap the heart if this is helpful. Moving on, here's something interesting that I saw that I've seen a lot of Christian women do. It's so interesting. You're dating with a deadline, but there's no timeline attached to how you date. So what I mean by this is, your deadline is, I want to get married by the time I'm 30. I want to get married by the time I'm 32. But the problem is that deadline has passed. That deadline has passed, or is very close to passing, and there is no sign of anything moving in that direction. The problem wasn't the deadline, it's that you didn't have a timeline. You didn't have a timeline. What do I mean by a timeline? I mean, what are the steps to meet that deadline that you are taking? That's it. A lot of you do not date with a timeline. So that's why, like, inside Dating to Marry, I provide like clients with a timeline tracker. In other words, they literally know how long they want to be talking to men for, how long they want to be going on dates, being in a relationship leading to marriage. Because what a timeline does is it positions you to inevitably get to your destination. I was giving the example on a previous live about maybe you have a dental appointment tomorrow. That has immediately set a timeline between now and tomorrow. So the timeline of when do you want to get to the dentist, timeline of how are you going to get there, how long is that transportation going to take, timeline of what are you doing tomorrow that won't get in the way of that dental appointment before and after. That's the same thing with dating. A lot of you are dating with a deadline. I want to get married by the end of 2024. I want to get married by the end of this quarter. That's your deadline, but there's nothing. You're not doing anything to make it happen. There's no timeline. There's nothing you're doing to make it happen. So in other words, the deadline you set, you do not meet, right? Which is why you keep passing your deadlines. It's one thing if you are meeting your deadline, but you are not at the point where, for instance, let me give an example. Maybe, you set a deadline for, the next 2 months, or by the end of the year, you want to be in a relationship or you want to be engaged. Even if you did not get engaged at the end of the year, you should at least be able to say, I'm in a relationship, or I've met men that I'm considering to be in a relationship with. The only way that can happen is if you set a timeline. So a deadline is there to be able to give you direction. That's the whole function of a deadline. So if you've set a deadline and you keep passing it every year, it's because you don't have a timeline attached. You're doing nothing. You're doing absolutely nothing on your end. You're praying, but you're not doing anything to partner with your prayers in action. You keep dating the same set of men. Some of you have not even dated men in months, in years. You put yourself in the same cycle, year and month and hours in time, just going through the same routine. Nothing is different and nothing will change until you start setting practical steps that you are going to take to see a shift. Okay, I'll share an example of I'll just choose any of my clients. So let me think. So I'll set an example of a client that up until we started working together, she just never been in a healthy relationship. She always met men that were compromising her values, were not willing to be in were not willing to show up for her intentionally. She was always compromising her values, 20s past, 30s past, just compromising. Then she realized, well, this isn't working. I've been doing this for close to 20 years. It's not working. So she decided that, okay, you know what? I need to change my approach. So when she came into the program and she showed up, like, in terms of, she really looked at and assessed the way she was dating using my process, she noticed a shift within months. So you see, the problem wasn't the deadline, it was her timeline. Within months, something that she's been trying for herself for close to 20 years, within 3-4 months, she saw a shift in the men she was attracting, the men that were pursuing her, the men that were making themselves available to her in the way she desired. Then she met her husband. All happened within a couple of months after trying for years on her own. The problem was not the deadline, because she had deadlines throughout those years. Problem was there was no timeline. There was nothing she was doing to meet that deadline, right? She was not taking tangible steps to meet that deadline. And when you're looking at your timeline requires you to be able to assess and analyze, what exactly do I need to do differently here? Do I need help? What do I need to reassess? Where do I need to focus? Do I need coaching? Do I need some assistance? And there's nothing wrong with any of that. Just like in anything that you're struggling, if you're struggling with dating, you get a dating coach. And one of my clients that is getting married, she even said it, that, when she was sharing her testimony and she told people that she'd worked with me, like a dating coach. And they were like, oh, you got a dating coach? Well, she's getting married, isn't she? She's getting married, isn't she? So, except you want to stay stuck with a stigma of you're getting help with dating, and except you want to keep getting stuck with that stigma and not doing anything about it, which you already know how that looks like because you are currently living in that cycle, you better get the help, right? I'm a strong advocate of getting the help that you need wherever you need it. I don't play with that. If you need the coaching, get the coaching, right? Well, she's getting married, and she told them, yes, I am. I got one. And, that was me, obviously. So it's important for you to, when looking at your timeline, really ask yourself, what needs to happen in that timeline for me to meet the deadline I've set to get married? You have the answers, Okay? What needs to happen in that timeline? Really ask yourself that. And I'm sure for you, it's not the first time you've asked yourself that question. But I really want you to consider if you are tired of getting the same results. Yeah, of course, I work with clients everywhere. Your location isn't a problem. Moving on, let's talk about why you're afraid you won't get married. Okay, part of the reason is because you're attracting men that don't want to get married. And you know what's interesting? The reason you're attracting men that don't want to get married, and the reason you're attracting men you cannot even marry is because of your fear of marriage. And that fear is manifesting itself in the way you are attracting the men that are showing up in your life. Okay? So if you can just get past that fear, how do you get past the fear that you will never get married? By actually doing something about it. Whether it's, like I've given you guys a couple of examples, creating opportunities to meet men, socializing, making dating a priority, building friendships with men, looking at your timeline. Instead of a deadline, start looking at a timeline. That's how you get out of that fear. Because fear paralyzes. It's not productive. It is not helpful. It is not useful. So instead, operate from a position of faith that, you know what? I want to get married. What do I need to do to make this happen? How do I need to put myself in a position to make this inevitable? Then you will notice that based on that simple shift, you will attract men differently. You will find that you are asking men different sets of questions. You will find that your shift will result in the way men are attracted to you. I'm saying this confidently because I've done this with clients multiple times. And you will even notice that shift. If you're currently in a situationship, like there was a client in a situationship, she even noticed that shift she left him, we started our work together and she was able to step out of that situationship. But she noticed that he even started showing up differently. And I told her it's because you are showing up differently. You have changed the way men have access to you. So in order for him to be considered, he also needs to change the way he is approaching you. So in other words, if you want to attract men that do actually want a serious relationship, you need to start taking cognizance of how you are making yourself available to men in general. And that leads to my next point. Okay, I'm going to share something with you guys I call it a dating frequency. So a dating frequency simply means how often do you attract men, combined with what is the quality of men you attract. So quantity and quality. What is the quantity of men you attract within a certain period of time, and what is the quality of men you're attracting? So you could be attracting, 3 men every quarter, every month, and then you're noticing that out of those 3 men, none of them are quality. They all are low value men. Maybe they are not financially stable, they are manipulative, they're narcissists. That is your dating frequency. Okay, so the reason that you are experiencing that is because of how you are showing up in the dating scene. I call it a dating style. So this is basically what I walk clients through in Dating to Marry. It's part of the process of helping my clients position themselves for the kind and quality of men they want to attract by changing their style of dating. So think of your dating style. I'm going to give you guys an analogy. It's basically the way you dress. So some of you may prefer to wear heels when you're going to work. You may prefer to be in a suit. You may prefer to be in a skirt. That is your style. That is your comfort. That's how you prefer to be showing up. In dating, everyone has a unique style, which is why the Dating to Marry program is tailored to each specific client. Because your style of dating is going to make it simple for you to be visible to your husband. It's going to make it simple for you to be noticeable to him in a way where he desires to pursue. Okay? So when you find your own unique style of dating and work with it, it is inevitable that the quality of men you attract will also increase to match your style. Now, because you are not dating with a comfortable style, for some of you, maybe you're not dating at all. You're afraid when it comes to commitment. You are meeting men that just don't match what you want financially or even share your Christian values. It is because of your style. It's basically your approach to dating. So you really want to ask yourself what works for you when it comes to dating and when you want to be meeting men. Just to give you guys some simple examples, you may prefer to meet men through friends. You may prefer to meet men through professional events. You may prefer online. You may prefer through social events. It is important to know what works for you so that you can optimize it to increase the likelihood of meeting the quality of man you want. It's kind of like giving another example. If you want to work in a law firm, to increase your chances of getting employed, you apply to law firms, you build your network in the legal industry, you show up to law functions, you show up to networking opportunities in legal spaces, you create opportunities to collaborate with people in that field. Those are the practical steps you can take to build that frequency, that, in other words, that likelihood of that being a reality and being inevitable. It's the same thing with dating. When you look at your dating style, it is going to influence your frequency in terms of the quality of men you're attracting, the quantity of men you're attracting. I have a whole process for it for clients to be able to use inside the program so that they can literally switch their frequency and they can literally see that, okay, maybe in January I was attracting men that were not emotionally available. Now that we're in February, March, I'm noticing that I'm attracting more emotionally available men that are financially stable and so on. They can literally see the shift because they have changed their style of dating. So you want to change your style of dating to be able to see a shift in the quality of men you're attracting, right? And then the final thing I will say, let me know if this is helpful so far, but the final thing I will say is you definitely also want to look at data, okay? When I talk about data, I'm simply talking about what has happened in your dating life. What can we say for a fact has happened? Have you been in relationships? Have you been married before? Are you in a situationship right now? Data is hard facts. Like, what is the reality of what is going on right now in your dating life? Lack of data is going to, when I say lack of data, I mean the fact that there is no data at all means that you have not been making yourself available. That's all it means. You've not been making yourself available. Some way, somehow, you are blocking access to you, right? It could be literally physically, you're just not available to meet people. It could be emotional. You shut down very quickly. You're easily triggered. You don't want to, get to know people. It could even be spiritual in terms of you're not listening. And when I say spiritual, I'm talking about your relationship with God. I'm not talking about outside forces or whatever. I'm talking about your relationship with the Lord. You're not involving him in your dating process. You're not listening to how he's directing you. You're delaying on taking certain actions that he keeps reminding you of. Data will always tell you the truth. Okay? Now, if you do have data, examine that data to be able to see where you are failing to make a decision. So, for example, if you notice that you are attracting men, but you keep attracting men that string you along for months, or you keep attracting men that always depend on you financially, or you attract men that don't have a problem entering a relationship with you but do not act like they're in a relationship with you. In other words, they cheat, they lie, they manipulate, they're not transparent about their friends, their family members. That data is telling you need to make a decision. In this example, you need to make a decision around the level of access you're giving to men. Probably something to do with how you choose men, how you decide who you want to commit to. Data will always give you feedback on where you are in dating. So inside Dating to Marry, an example of how I do this with clients is what I call a dating ladder. So the dating ladder literally just shows my clients where they are in terms of the men that they're attracting, the qualities they've noticed, and how to be able to shift that by making different decisions so that they can now attract more and more men that match the caliber and quality of man that they actually want to commit to for marriage. And they literally notice, by looking at the ladder, it consists of like 10 steps where I've outlined the different men that you are going to attract leading to marriage. They literally know, okay, maybe they're on step 3. They know, okay, these are the decisions I need to make to get to step 5. And they will literally see that as they make those decisions, the quality of men that they attract improves, and they are now more and more in alignment with the kind and caliber of man they want to commit to long-term for marriage. Sharing that with you to let you know that you need to make certain decisions around the way you are dating to start attracting your husband. You need to make different decisions, let me put it that way, around the way you are dating to start attracting your husband. Okay? Awesome. So that's what I wanted to share. So if you're over 30 and you're afraid you'll never get married, this is very practical. Like I said, you need to create opportunities to be friends with men. You need to have a schedule of dating. And you also need to make sure that you are not over spiritualizing the dating process. You want your testimony to be, to include your participation. If you think about any testimony, there was something that you did. You weren't just praying, you participated. How did you participate? You are dating with a timeline instead of just a deadline. Okay, it's important for you to be able to pay attention to what do I need to change to be able to meet the deadline I'm setting. It's kind of like when you guys make goals, right? If you set a goal that, I don't know, I want to lose 2 kg by the end of next month. Well, you're going to have to do certain things. Maybe change your diet, go to the gym more, sleep more, drink more water, go on more walks. That is the timeline. That is what is going to help you meet the deadline. So for you, look at the deadline you set, the new deadline, because you didn't anticipate being single till this point. You thought you'd be married by now. It's just not going the way you planned, for being very honest. So now look at your timeline instead of the deadline and see what you need to do differently. And then you also want to look at the frequency of dating that you have. So you can tell your frequency by the quality of men you're attracting. If you're attracting low value men, that means that you need to change your dating style. Probably your standards are too low. That's one example. But you really need to just look at what the data is telling you to know where you need to make different decisions so that you come to a different destination. Okay? Awesome. So do we have any questions about what I've shared so far or the Dating to Marry program? Speaking of which, if you want to work with me one-on-one inside Dating to Marry, it's a Christian dating program for over 30 Christian single women that are ready to get into a committed relationship leading to marriage. We work together for 6 months. I work with you weekly for a 6-month time frame to be able to get into a relationship leading to marriage within a year. If you want to be considered as one of my Dating to Marry clients, you can apply with the link in my bio and first tab. Okay? If you have any questions about the program, feel free to send me a DM or an email. Okay, do we have any questions with what I've just said? I'm about to end the live. Okay, guys. I don't see any questions. I'll talk to you guys again soon. Bye.